Hello, everybody. As he just said, I am Jesslyn Rollins, and I am the CEO of my family's company, BIOLYTE. But a few years ago, when I was looking at colleges, I was thinking about going to Florida State.
Go Noles, baby.
Go Noles, okay? So here's the deal. Me and Mama got in the car and drove down and wanted to get the tour, wanted to get the full experience, see if it was going to be the right fit. And when we were on the tour, I was looking around at all these super attractive tan students. And it was 100-something degrees, and I felt very nervous because I forgot my spray-on sunscreen that typically travels with me in my purse. So I turned to Mama and I go, Mama, I think I'm too white to go to this school. And I ended up at the University of Georgia with the big oak trees and lots of shade. Nice. Thank you, thank you. But y'all have an incredible school here. You have incredible people here. You have ambitious people here. And I'm really excited to be a part of your community for today and talk to y'all a little bit about our company and educate you on some hydration. So without kind of further ado, so when I was getting ready for this speech, I wanted to know who I was going to be speaking to. And what I was told was that y'all are very ambitious professionals. And you have big dreams. And you have big goals. And you have big dreams and big goals for your community and Tallahassee and the state of Florida and the country as a whole. Some people are starting their own startups. Some people are students. Some people are educators. Some people are professionals making waves within your community. And I was like, well, shit. What am I going to talk about that can make an impact on these people's lives? What can I say to these people, these brilliant professionals or budding professionals that can really help them make an impact here in their community? And what I landed on was hydration, and optimal hydration. So before we get started on my favorite topic, literally ever, I want to tell y'all a little bit about me. So first and foremost, I am not a scientist. I know that's shocking, but I'm not. I love when science makes sense in everyday life. I'm not a scientist. I don't understand, how to do that as a profession. But I love it when the science makes sense, and it not only makes sense, it makes me feel better and operate better as a human being. Second of all, I am not the inventor of BIOLYTE. Someone much smarter than me is the inventor of BIOLYTE. That person has 43 years of experience as an anesthesiologist, a pain specialist, and has a ton of experience with IV bags. And those genes, unfortunately for me, skipped me. Third, I am a regular, everyday person. I don't like the big words. I like things broken down. So if things start feeling like, why is she talking down to me? That means you're smarter than me. Okay? Don't tell me that, but I'm trying to make it make sense, because when it was explained to me this way, that's when it clicked for me. Okay, ready to get started? Let's go. Okay, so I don't know if y'all feel this way, but for me, especially in the hydration space, I feel like hydration is the new kale. Jim Gaffigan, one of my favorite stand-up comedians, has a bit on kale propaganda. And he says that kale is like bug spray tasting hair. And that the people at Kale were like, how do we shape this so that people eat this stuff morning, middle, and end of the day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And you have to smother it and cover it in oils and butters and this and that. But kale became this massive superfood. And we were like, oh, does that have kale in it? Oh, I'll eat it. It's good for me. So I was on the kale train, all right? And I was trying to force feed my husband kale. It was good for me. It was good for him. He needed to eat it. Needed to counteract the vodka sodas. And here's the deal. He pulls up a CDC article, and it lays out all the different leafy green vegetables, and kale wasn't even in the top 10 for the most nutritious leafy green vegetables. You know that the people at watercress, at spinach, are pissed because they're like, what about us? Come on, we're more nutritious. So that's how I feel about hydration. People are telling us that we need to carry jugs of water. Like they're practically dumbbells that we have to ball and chain throughout the day. People are telling us that we need these enormous canteens of water with markers all along the water bottle so that we can keep track of our daily hydration status. Add a little bit of Himalayan salt. Add a little bit of lemon, detoxify the body. Water, water, water all day long. If you're not drinking water, you're not doing the right thing. If you're not sitting on the bathroom all the time peeing, you're not doing the right thing. So here's the deal. Even in middle school, we learned in our science classes that the human body is made up of 60% water. So drinking all this water, you've got to replace what you're losing, right? And that is right. But there is a critical piece that we were missing. In the statement, the human body is 60% water. Y'all ready for this? It's going to blow your mind. This is the truth. The human body is 60% salt water. The human body is 60% salt water. So what does that mean? Does that mean I drink my water and then I pour salt on my fries? Does that mean I get to salt my chips at the Mexican restaurant? Does that mean that I need to put salt on everything? Okay, I can do that. I can get behind that. No, that's not what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is the human body is 60% salt water. But those salts are not just sodium. Sodium is the most important, yes, but you have sodium, chloride, and potassium that are the major electrolytes in the human body, the major salts that make up our salt water. Pretty much we are walking fish, is what that told me. So when I say the human body is 60% salt water, the human body is made up of 60% salts water. What really blew my mind was that the lungs are 83% salt water. The kidneys are 79% salt water. The brain and the heart are 73% salt water. I mean, is that not wild to you? I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea that we were made up of so much salt water. So picture this with me. You got a car. And what kind of car? Like we're We're in Florida, so we're gonna have our top down. It's gonna be a convertible. But what type of car would y'all like to talk about? Mustang. Okay, Mustang's the loudest. Jeep's a good fit too, okay? But we got our Mustang, right? And you pull up to the gas station and you go, I'm gonna fill her up. And you get your premium fuel, right? To go and fill her up. And the car goes, oh, no, I don't like premium fuel. No. I like tea. I like coffee. I like alcohol. I like water. But I don't like this premium fuel that you're trying to give me. And you're looking at your beautiful Mustang. And you're going, Mustang, you need premium fuel. I want to show you off to all my friends. I want to take you out of this gas station and drive you and show you off and go fast. People tell me all the time, they're like, oh, I don't like sports drinks. I don't like electrolyte drinks. I don't even like water, really. Like, you hear that all the time. I don't like water. I don't like water. That's why, put some fruits in it, put this in it, put this in it. We don't get to pick what we're made of. We get a lot of privilege in this country with what we get to pick and what we get to say and how much reign we have and how individualistic we are. But when it comes to what we're made of, we don't get to pick. It's just one of those things that we don't get to pick. And we're made up of 60% salt water. And listen, I am not here, I don't want any of this bullshit thoughts of, I'm not doing the right things, oh no. I don't want any guilt. That's not what I'm trying to give you. What I'm trying to do is just give you facts, just like I was trying to learn, okay? So here's the deal. So you got your Mustang, right? And that's the human body. Because the brain is 73% salt water, that means if you don't have enough electrolytes and if you don't have enough hydrogen and oxygen, water, to fuel your car, that's gonna lead to headaches. That's gonna lead, this is the wildest thing, that's gonna lead to anxiety. That's gonna lead to fatigue. It's gonna lead to sluggishness. It's gonna lead to brain fog. It's gonna lead to your car breaking down, moving slower than you were made to run. And I was told who I was talking to. Professionals with big dreams, big goals, get her done mentalities. The first obstacle that comes your way and you're running on empty, you're just gonna say, oh, it's too big. I'm too anxious. No. We can't have that. There has been a saying since the beginning of time, and yeah, is she gonna throw out Confucius? Yeah, she's going to. Confucius said that the healthy man, or the healthy person, wants 1,000 things, but the sick person only wants one. I want y'all to fuel your cars with optimal hydration because it will help you hit and meet your goals faster, more efficiently. You'll have clearer heads, you'll have clearer hearts, you'll have all of the things that you need to thrive. And here's the thing, we got it almost right. We have out in the world water. We have out in the world sports drinks. I hear there's one that came from Florida. I'd never heard of it before I got here, but everybody's talking about it. But those they're good attempts at what the human body needs. You got water and you got trace amount of electrolytes. But y'all, I hate to break it to you. You are salty people. You are so salty. And you're saltier than you ever thought you were. And that is where products, my product, BIOLYTE, comes in. So how in the world did I become this hydration preacher? What got me here? So here's the deal. My mom had breast cancer. And when she was going through her chemotherapy treatments, she was so sick and she was so dehydrated to the point where the nurses could not find her veins. And they had to stick her and stick her and stick her because they couldn't find her veins. And in certain cases, they had to send her home and prolong her treatment. And in other cases, she had to sit there for hours. And that means that cure, that means being cancer-free, being clean, only gets kicked out that much farther. So my dad is a board-certified anesthesiologist and pain specialist. He has years of experience tailoring his patients' IV bags with nutritional supplementation to help them feel better. So when my family was trying sports drinks, children's rehydration products, electrolyte powders, water, and nothing was keeping her hydrated for treatment, my dad used his experience and knowledge of IV bags to create BIOLYTE. So an IV bag, and the reason why it can go directly in your veins is because it has the same amount of electrolytes and water percentages and that balance that matches the human body. If I were to take an IV bag right now, and I were to cut open a little, I was going to say this, but it would go everywhere. Cut open right here and then drink it. Or I would hand it to you and you drink it. It tastes like seawater. It's nasty. It's really nasty. But that's the thing. That's what we're made of. Because what are we? Salt water, exactly. So when it comes to BIOLYTE, BIOLYTE is the only medical grade hydration drink with as many electrolytes as an IV bag. Or, said in another way, BIOLYTE is the only electrolyte drink with as many electrolytes as the human body needs. And we're really excited. So I got started selling BIOLYTE out of the back of my Toyota Highlander. And I sold it to high school football teams because places like Florida State wouldn't talk to me. And so I was like easier barrier to entry, show up at high schools. This was before COVID, before you could do that, before that thing wasn't, really allowed for you to just walk into places. And I hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock over the course of 6 years. And I was so passionate about what Dad created and how helpful it had been for people, and all of the customer testimonials that we had gathered over the years from cancer patients, from POTS patients, from people in long-term care facilities, from everyday people talking about how amazing this stuff was. That's what kept me going. And BIOLYTE, because I was fueled on the right stuff. And I knew that if I kept drinking it, any type of roadblock or setback or issue that I would run into, which was daily, because there's a Haitian quote, and you're like, wow, this lady's full of quotes. There's a Haitian quote that says, beyond, it's something like this, beyond, you are climbing a mountain, but beyond that mountain are more mountains. It's not like you climb a mountain and then it's done. You're in a valley. There's more mountains to be climbed. And especially y'all with ambitious and big dreams like y'all have, there's gonna be more mountains. And you don't want your brain and your body to be functioning on orange juice and coffee and tea and only that. I'm not saying that. I love my coffee. I love my tea. But you also have to have the right stuff to fill your tank. So I'm very proud of this. BIOLYTE recently got Medicare and Medicaid approved for long-term care and oncology patients. So I didn't know that this was a big deal because I'm not a medical person, but this is a huge deal because what it means is that people in long-term care, people going through cancer, can spend money on better treatment, can spend money on better facilities, can spend money on better care, and their insurance can pay for BIOLYTE. I'm excited about that. But here's the point, and this is for y'all, because you're not looking like long-term care. You're not looking like oncology patients, and thank goodness for that. Here's the deal. Throughout the day, the everyday person loses about 2% of their body fluid, electrolyte and fluid replacement. They lose 2% of it simply by sweating, by breathing, and by going to the bathroom. And they say at about 2% is when you can start to see performance declines. Headaches, nausea, fatigue, muscle cramps, because your blood starts getting too thick. It can't take the nutrients all the way up everywhere. Your brain's not getting enough oxygen. A lot of things can go wrong. And in the worst case scenarios, I'm not saying worst case, but this does happen. There was an article that recently came out of a woman from Indiana who recently passed away from too much water intake. Her electrolytes were so off balance that her brain was not getting enough oxygen, and she passed away. It's awful. And this isn't the only time you hear about this. You hear about people going to the hospital, having to get IVs, and they're like, I drank water. What the hell? I thought I was doing all the right stuff. You're saltier than you think you are. But that's what I'm trying to say. If you lose 2% of the fluid in your body just by regular everyday occurrences, what if you throw in the Florida heat? What if you throw in an active individual that's working out, which you should be, which I should be? What if you throw in, I just got sick, I got the flu, I'm run down? You're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have your Mustang broken down, not just driving slow, broken down. I want your Mustang driving fast, making decisions, being clear-headed, clear-hearted, making moves, doing things for this city, doing things for this state. And I know y'all do too. So, kind of in closing, because I know I'm kind of coming up on time, I really wanted to leave a huge portion of this for questions and for y'all to ask me questions, ask me about the journey of BIOLYTE, ask me about, anything, hydration, but I really want to get the point across that y'all are Mustangs. You are Lamborghinis. You are Jeeps. You have beautiful paint jobs, beautiful rims, and you need optimal fuel to make your shit happen. Stay salty and get her done. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a question. So if you're dehydrated all the time and the blood is thicker, does that lead to increased plaque buildup?
Ooh. You mean like in your mouth?
No, in your arteries.
So here's the deal. Think about it, because remember, I am a regular, everyday person. I am not a medical person. Think about when you're cleaning your dishes, right? And you get stuff, like you've just finished your meal, and you put it in the sink, and you don't put water on it, but you grab your sponge to wipe it all off. You need the hydration, and you need the electrolytes to this is a gross word, but pretty much lube everything up. And make sure that things don't get stuck. Because when things get stuck, you got problems. That's when you've got kidney stones. Ew. That's when you've got plaque buildup. Ew. That's when you've got bad bacteria, bad mucus living in your body. It is an amazing thing, the human body. And it is amazing how, like, it's not complicated. And we try to make it complicated. But you want to have electrolytes, you want a lot of them, and you want to have hydration to get the bad stuff out and to send the good stuff, the nutrients, all throughout the body. So, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great question. Yes.
So aside from being very thirsty right now and feeling very dehydrated,
I have a product. I'm kidding. I do have samples.
I'm curious. Can you talk a little bit more about the business side of it? So
Yeah.
How did you know you had a good product? When did you start approaching those investors, or how did you go about that?
Great question. And I'm not a scientist, but I am a businesswoman, so I can answer this one. So here is the deal. 4.5 pallets of BIOLYTE showed up at my family's home in Atlanta, Georgia on June 16th, 2016. My dad had pumped a ton of money into getting it off the ground. He had no more money. And doctors are historically and are not known to be the best business people. And so Dad didn't have like a team lined up. It was pretty much like, I got the product. And he came to me because I was working at the Laughing Skull Comedy Lounge selling tickets because I wasn't funny enough to be a comedian. That's all right. But I was good at customer service. And so they were like, we'll check in tickets. So my dad was like, so that's not going anywhere. Jesslyn, I would love for you to help me out with this product that I just created. And I think you're good at talking to people. I think you're, pretty good at sales. Why don't you start seeing if it sells? And I was like, yeah. I was so excited about this opportunity to work with my family. I mean, my mom was a dedicated mom. My dad was an anesthesiologist and pain specialist. His medical practice is not something you can kind of pass on. And so to have this family business, I was like, this is freaking awesome. But for me, I was like, Dad, listen, don't cut me out of the will or anything, but I got to know that this stuff works. And being 25 at the time, I wanted to see if it worked after one too many alcoholic beverages. Kind of makes sense. Remember, I'm a regular everyday person. Okay. So what happened was Dad told me that it was pretty much like an IV bag in a bottle. And I was like, yummy. And I'll get to the flavors in a minute. But so what I did, I went out and I was a recruiter at the time. And so I had to wake up really early in the morning. And I had one too many alcoholic beverages. I woke up, headache, nauseous, felt terrible. And I put a 30-minute timer on my phone. And because Dad said the only difference between us and an IV bag is a 30-minute delay. So I was like, okay, 30-minute timer on my phone, and I drank one down, and I was like, it's salty. Why? And drank the whole thing. In about 18 minutes, I started to kind of freak out because I didn't feel any different. And I was like, oh my God, my dad has created a dud. How am I going to tell him this? And no joke, in about 28 minutes, I started to normalize. My headache calmed down, nausea subsided, and I was like, I think I might have something, but I didn't trust myself. I was like, of course, I want my dad's drink to work, duh. So what I did, I laid out with my mother-in-law, who's a big-time real estate person, a business woman that I very much respect, and we laid out on note cards all of the different customer profiles that we could help. And the easiest barrier to entry was high schools, because I could just walk in and give them samples for them to try. I went to a high school, I had a connection with a high school, I could get started there. So I went to my high school, the Lovett School in Atlanta, Georgia, and I dropped off samples for the head athletic trainer. And he called me that Saturday after I dropped them off on a Wednesday. And he goes, Jesslyn, I need more of that BIOLYTE. And I was like, you liked it? And he was like, I loved it. Typically on my football team, I have 10 guys that habitually cramp. And these are like my star players, so it's a big deal if they cramp. And I gave them 1 bottle of BIOLYTE before the game, 1 at halftime, and 9 of them did not cramp at all. And I was like, done, bye. Like, I have something here. So I started going to all these different high schools. If you had made the GHSA playoff bracket that year in 2017, I walked in. I would dress like a mom, or not a student. I didn't wear a uniform. I wasn't that crazy. Dressed like a mom, like a friendly mom, and I'd walk in and I would give the head athletic trainer samples. 9 out of 10 times, I picked them up as an account. Boom, boom. And you were saying you're very visual. I don't remember like a ton of the names of these schools, but I remember their mascots and their colors. So when people are like, oh yeah, I went to Buford, I'm like, the Wolves? They bought BIOLYTE. So then I go to a family kind of get together, and my brother-in-law is in wine sales. And I'm selling BIOLYTE out of the back of my Toyota Highlander, and he's like, Jesslyn, I really appreciate the hustle and the heart that you've got here, but this isn't how the beverage industry works. You have to get it into a distributor who gets it into a retailer. And that's how you make it in beverage. And I was like, amazing. Do you know anyone? He put me in touch with a beverage distributor. The beverage distributor said, maybe if you can sell it into Kroger. And we have an in with Kroger. So there was no way I was going to land Kroger. Like, we had been in business for 5 months at this time, maybe? But God bless, I was going to put every single follicle in my body towards this presentation, so at least I would know that I had done everything that I could to get it. So I meet with Randy Waters, the head of the all-natural division for Kroger Atlanta. The Atlanta division of Kroger is Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. So I went in, I was talking to Randy, and I'm just sitting there because he's stone-faced, and I'm like, this is bombing, this is bombing, this is bombing, this is bombing. That's all right, I tried. And Randy looks at me and he goes, okay, here's where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it into 300 Kroger coolers all across the Atlanta division. And I was like so shocked that he said that. And I was like, Randy, just to confirm, you like BIOLYTE? Never even tried it. Never even opened my cooler, my rolling cooler of BIOLYTE. And he was like, yes, I'm going to put it in all these stores. And I was like, why are you choosing BIOLYTE? And he was like, your passion, your enthusiasm, I think this thing's going places. So we went into Kroger, and that was pretty much the breeding ground of our test market. Who the customer was, how they were buying it, what they liked, what they didn't. And so I went in those first couple of years and sampled. I did over 200 samplings with the customers. And I'm a theater major. So I really, was seriously thinking about Florida State because y'all have a great theater program. And I would have like scene partners is what I thought with these customers. I would try to get them to come to the booth, and I noticed what made them come into the booth and what made them want to back off. Because everybody, whenever you see somebody sampling, unless it's just free samples, you're always like, sorry, I'm out of the frame. But I learned about the customer, and we based everything off of that. Tweaks to the product, the label, the formulation, the everything based off of that. Once we had proof of concept with Kroger, that's when we started growing. We got a call from, true story, I got an email from my logistics manager at the time. He's now our head of logistics, and he's not that great with email. And so he misspells things and he doesn't put periods in the right spot. And so I'm always just like, God bless, another email from Kelly. And he says in the email, he's like, hey, Publix wants BIOLYTE. And I was like, God bless it, Kelly. Don't get me all excited about this. Publix doesn't want BIOLYTE. And straight up, it's an email from Jeff Smith at Publix saying, hi, we've heard so much about BIOLYTE. We would like to bring it in. And that email came on a Monday at 2:32 in the afternoon, and Jeff Smith got a call on a Monday at 2:32 afternoon. So it's just the moment that that opportunity bus comes at your stop, and not all buses are great fits for you, but the moment that that opportunity bus comes your way and you go, I'd like to ride that bus makes sense to me, I'm actually going to that town. You get the hell on it. And you be there on time with bells on, and you and make sure you have a big suitcase because you're going places. Yeah.
So,
Did that answer your question? Sure. Okay, yeah, that's how we built the brand.
Yeah, I was just curious how you did that.
Yep.
so I guess my question would be, like, what do you feel like was your biggest roadblock and how did you get over it?
Okay, so it is very important to clarify that your biggest roadblock every single year is going to look drastically different. So our first year, my biggest roadblock was trying to be everything to everyone. So if you ordered BIOLYTE in 2017 and like midway through 2018, I had sold it to you, I had shipped it to you, and I'd probably missed your invoice. Like, it was trying to be everything to everyone and look a lot bigger than we actually were. So this year, the biggest roadblock has been trying to right size the company. So we had explosive growth over the course of 6 years. We went from $157,000 to $1.3 million to $3.4 million to $8 million to $16.8. And then in 2022, we got 22.1. And I primed this company for that growth. Because I was like, I see, I'm not a mathematician, but I see a trend here. And so I hired a ton of people, a ton of great people. And I brought in as much inventory as I possibly could. What I thought I was doing was I was giving support to the team that I had. But then when we didn't have the right structure for management, when we didn't have the right structure for accountability, when our marketing message was not clear, was when that growth that we anticipated to kind of keep going got all jacked up. And so right-sizing the company to the size that was needed, the structure that was needed, and doing the not fun part of every single department. And me and my marketing director had a meeting last week, and we were, going at it, and she was like, I feel like you're picking on me. I feel like you're, all these things. And I was like, I'm not picking on you. You've been out on maternity leave, and I have not kamikazed your department yet, and it's your turn. Every single department needed a change because we kind of needed to, we needed to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. And so making tough decisions this year so that we could grow, because we were dropping balls. We were not being a good partner. We were not being a good partner to Kroger, to Publix. We weren't giving them FaceTime because we were going way too big, way too quick. And we didn't have the right leadership. We didn't have the right structure for good people to thrive. And so every single year has been drastically different. And every single year the company, as me as a leader, has required me to be a completely different person. But I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. Not ready. I can't say I'm ready for it, but I'm trying to put. I'm trying to get myself ready. I'm trying to get myself the teachers and the focus groups and the right mentors to guide me through a process and through growing a company in waters that I've never experienced before. But there's a quote by, I think it's FDR, that a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. And it's the cover of my phone because that's how much I believe in that. Mm-hmm. You again. Hello.
That guy was over.
Oh, that was your okay, yeah. Twin brother.
You started 2016.
Yeah.
Team of 3, just you, the family?
So Dad was a 9-to-5 physician, anesthesiologist, pain specialist. Pretty much the product was Dad. And he was like, here you go, do something with it. And so at the early years, it was me and my oldest sister, Sarah. There were 2 of us in the company.
And how large is the company now?
We have 22 people.
So it's still relatively small, able to manage with a small team.
Yep, absolutely. Maybe it's able to manage for you. Yeah. Yes, hold please.
Once you saw the rise start happening in your success, is there anything you think you would go back and change to maybe, I don't know, repace yourself? You said you were kind of riding the wave. When you got to a certain point, you realized you started to miss some things, started to drop some balls. Is there anything you would have gone back and maybe changed, or you feel like just that was par for the course? So
I want to answer your question, and then I'm going to answer your question about investors, because I think I dropped that. That's what I dropped. What I would change. I would change, it's an impossible change, but I would change myself back then, because I really struggled when we went from, it was me and Sarah, my oldest sister, to then it was just me, to then it was like a few people. And then there was, around like maybe less than 10. I really struggled coming out of this flat hierarchy. I'm naturally a social people pleaser. And I would let things happen that were not good things happening, and like kind of joke about it and laugh about it and be like, oh, that's not a big deal. Oh, that's not a big deal. And I really needed to be a strong, that's not okay. You didn't answer an email in 24 hours. That's not okay. Hey, and check up on things, because balls were getting dropped, and I had a feeling about it because I'm really emotionally intelligent, but I couldn't, when I would ask the question, hey, how is QT? Great. Awesome. Super. Awesome. Super. Then when that person would leave the company for whatever reason, going back in, seeing they have not had a communication with QT for 4 months, and having to call QT and go, hi, remember me? It's kind of the same thing in life, and what I'm talking about with this hydration and electrolyte stuff. It is way easier to clean a clean house. It is a lot, when you've got rodents, when you've got an insect infestation, if you haven't cleaned your dishes in months, that's when you're like, mother, I got to hire a service. I got to get after these rodents. And that's what my niceness and not being direct and clear with people about my expectations, that's what it caused for BIOLYTE. So if I were to change anything, it would be somebody telling me and it's soaking in and it making sense that you are not here to be these people's friend. You are here to be their teacher. Not everybody always likes their teacher, and you got to be okay with that. Now, going back to the investor portion. So BIOLYTE is very unique and very privileged because our inventor was our investor, and he was a family member. And he didn't really understand investment and kind of how that works because he had always been a doctor and a physician. So when we first got started and Dad was like, I put in this money, go and make it happen, that's all I thought I had. And I was a theater major, and so I didn't know that investors were even an option, that finding more money was even an option. That's why I was doing all the everything, because I didn't know that I could go out and get money to hire people to help me do these things. And it's a blessing and a curse because, yeah, I mean, I had a breaking point of, me crying on a pallet because I was like, I can't get out 100 boxes and no one's here to help me. But it forced me to be in a headspace of, this is what you got to work with. And there's like a sentiment from the Bible that's like, you have everything that you need. You have everything that you need. And so me always kind of going back to that of like, okay, I don't feel like I have everything I need, but how do I have everything that I need? And that's where you start kind of getting creative with the connections and reaching out and how to make things happen that would not typically happen the normal way. So because we were restrictive, because Dad was like, no more, like this is it, we were operating in the red for about until year 3. And then we started generating profit, and the company started functioning on those profits. So my parents haven't put any more money in. They've taken money out, but they haven't put any in since about 2020. And we haven't taken on any more outside investment. And so they own, Mom and Dad own the company completely and fully. And so we've got full control over it. But I will say that it's kind of like every single year looks totally different. Like what got you here, that strategy, that plan, that process will not necessarily get you to the next point. So it's a conversation that we're having right now of like, what does that look like? What does investment look like? What would we do with an extra $10 million? Like what? I was operating on this. I have no idea what to do with that. So also getting the right people in the room to go, this is, hearing your plan, Jess, this is how we would recommend kind of tick, 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 moving things around. But there's another piece of this is that we do have a line of credit with the bank. And that line of credit is around $2 million. And so that has really helped with cash flow stabilization because our business is like, we have to order millions of bottles. And so the cash gets sucked out. And so having that line to go, it's like a credit card, to go in and kind of pay it and then pay it down and then pay it up and then pay it down, has been really helpful to kind of bridge the months when we're not necessarily selling like the most BIOLYTE. Yes? We'll come back.
So, as you started growing and having to hire employees rather than just working with family members or maybe friends, how did you approach that, and what kind of employee were you looking for? Growing so rapidly, was there a certain personality type that you were more drawn towards? How did that look?
So That is a great question. And it's kind of like dating. You can have all these grand plans of what the person is that you're supposed to be with. I want this height, you know, this occupation, these values, and da-da-da. And then you get with that person and you're like, ooh, I may need to tweak that strategy. So, and personally with recruiting, so I lead a Sunday school class back in Atlanta, and they're looking for a head of the high school, like the high school portion of the church. And they brought us, there was a group of us, one candidate. And I was like, absolutely not. You have to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince. And that comes so true in recruiting. And it's not even saying that that person wasn't the right one because they weren't a fit for the job. That person may not want to actually live in Atlanta because they live in Woodstock, like 45 minutes outside of Atlanta. That person may get divorced and then have to leave. And so if you broaden that recruiting pool and you interview, and we're constantly interviewing all the time because those life circumstances can happen, you have more of a bench and it makes your company more secure. Now, when it comes to the type of person that we're looking for, so we started off with core values, and we had those core values set in 2021. Those have evolved into 4 core values: drive, entrepreneurship, adaptability, and family. And when we interview people, we tailor our questions towards those core values to make sure that they fit. And I've had it both ways, because since I was a recruiter, I am really good with the emotional intelligence side of it, fitting those core values. Where I lack is more in that, do they have the dedicated, like actual tangible skill set to do the job? And it's kind of like going back to the dating analogy. So I was looking for a VP of sales and a VP of finance and operations. And I have a person who is my head of talent management. And she was like, Jesslyn, let me find those people for you. It's kind of like your friend saying, hey, let me set you up with somebody to go out on a date with. You don't get to pick anymore. Your judgment is flawed. Yes, your judgment is flawed. You're no bueno. I know what you need. And so it also takes sometimes an outside person to really know you and understand you and your business to be able to fill that role perfectly. And the new VP of sales and the new finance and operations guy, they've been excellent.
Okay, so one last question. So you had mentioned like your sales throughout the year. What is a product like this? I would assume summer would be higher sales.
Yep.
Because people are hotter.
Yes.
But you could see a lot of dehydration in winter. So like what does that look like?
Yep, great question. So for the beverage industry as a whole, we're talking milk, juices, sports drinks, whatever, typically you have a peak during the summertime. But because BIOLYTE has that medical grade flair to it, and it's used by people with stuff all year, like problems all year round, cancer, long-term care, POTS, and cold, cough, and flu being those months, my hypothesis is that if we get BIOLYTE's marketing right to those individuals in that community, where everybody else can be like this, BIOLYTE should be like this. And so for as a value proposition to retailers and to our distributors, we say, while these other brands are not going to be gaining you any revenue during those times, you want to bring on BIOLYTE because we are uniquely suited to get you more revenue during the colder months. And not everybody can say that.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thanks, guys.
One more time for Jesslyn Rollins.
Thank you.
So we have, don't worry, we have all of Jesslyn's information. I know there's a ton more questions, and I'm sorry, we are going to roll right into the next speaker. But thank you so much for the information.
There's one more comment that I wanted to make, just really quick. You can buy BIOLYTE at Publix. I know y'all don't have Kroger's down here, right?
No.
It's like evil. Okay, yeah, not. QT, Racetrack, Circle K. And Amazon if that's easier for you, or on drinkbiolyte.com. It's an amazing product. Reach out to me and our customer service team if you want to try a sample pack. And if you've listened to this, we'll send it to you for free. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.